traveling doesn't mean my training stops. I was in New York City and then Omaha, Nebraska for a week, but my endurance cycling training plan is still alive. This is Training Everywhere, a series where I stick to my cycling and strength program no matter where in the world I am. I used to be obese, and I never thought I'd be pushing myself to be an endurance cyclist. But now, every week is about showing up even when the setting isn't perfect. Let's see how I made it work in New York and Omaha. Hello everyone, my name is Mima. I used to be obese. I lost all the weight through a combination of GLP-1 medication, a whole foods diet, and weightlifting, and now I am training to be an endurance cyclist. And I started training 2 weeks ago, even when I already had travel scheduled. Last week I was in New York City and Omaha, Nebraska, and now, as you can see, I'm in an airport because I am traveling to my home country of the Philippines for a week. But I remain committed to my cycling and strength training program, even if I know jet lag is coming my way. These 2 weeks of travel have fairly similar training plans. So I will be cycling for 2 days and then weightlifting for another 2 days, but there will be one less day for training to account for my flight and my travel schedules. I also rearranged some of the days to account for equipment availability. So if you guys remember in my previous video, I had Wednesdays and Saturdays as my cycling training days, and then the rest of the week, except for Sunday, were weightlifting days. But I've had to rearrange that just to account for the fact that sometimes I will be in a location or accommodations where I don't have an indoor bike, or it just makes a lot more sense scheduling wise for me to be cycling on a specific day rather than whatever I had set it up in my original training plan. Because Philippines hasn't happened yet, as I just mentioned, I am in an airport right now and my flight is going to be boarding in about an hour and a half. Let's talk about what happened the week that I was in New York City and Omaha. Monday last week was not a travel day, so it was a regular strength training day for me. Tuesday was my travel day to New York City for a quick work event, and because my hotel in New York City did not have an indoor bike in their gym, I decided to use that day as a cycling day instead of a strength training day. So I did do an hour of cycling training on my Trainer Road app a few hours before I got on the train to New York City that day. Wednesday was the day I caught my train back home and I did strength training. Thursday was my no training day because we caught an early flight to Omaha, but our hotel in Omaha did have a really nice gym and a fairly complete one. So Friday was strength training day and I kept Saturday as my cycling day. Sunday, as always, is my rest day, kept it as my rest day, and that was our day to fly back home. And I am very happy to say I was actually able to stick to my training plan for that week despite all of the traveling that I did. I got on 2 trains and 4 planes. So here are the things that really helped me stick to my plan and keep committed and disciplined throughout that week. 1, I prepared. And the preparation got me halfway there. I did a lot of research ahead of time for what fitness equipment and amenities were available in the accommodations that I had in New York City and Omaha. I also made a checklist of what I needed, so making sure that I had everything that I needed to be able to do either a strength training workout or cycling, whether that's like clothes or tech. So it kept me from making excuses to not actually train while I was away from the comforts of my home and my own equipment and my own space and the gym that I have gotten to know and love over the past how many months that I've been training there. For cycling specifically, like I made sure to have my heart rate monitor. I made sure I had my cadence sensor so I could still use the Trainer Road app even when I wasn't at home. Another thing that really helped me, of course, was my schedule. My schedule kept me disciplined and accountable. And this is also very much connected to the first tip, which was preparation, because I looked at my schedule when my train was arriving and leaving, when my flights were arriving and leaving, and I made sure to block off enough time for training, a shower, going from my house to the train station, my house to the airport, so that I would not feel rushed, especially on travel days. Tuesday and Wednesday, for example, were the days last week were travel days. So I made sure that my calendar was blocked off, and every block of time that I needed, whether it be how much time I needed to train, how much time I needed to shower, how much time I needed to get from one place to another, that was blocked off and scheduled on my calendar so that I wouldn't have any excuse not to do my workouts. But even with that kind of preparation and sort of strict scheduling and strict planning, flexibility also helped me keep my momentum. Because when you travel, things don't always go according to plan. For example, in New York City last Tuesday, my work event ran much later than I had anticipated. And I knew then, because at least 7 hours of sleep is a non-negotiable for me, that I would have a lot less time to train in the morning because I also had to catch my train back home. So instead of not training, I adjusted my training plan instead. I planned for it to be shorter but more intense so that I still had enough time to shower, get ready, get dressed, and get to the train station and get on my train back home. But also that meant that I still got to train at the level that I wanted. I did the same on Saturday for my cycling training in Omaha. I was in Omaha for mostly family reasons, so of course a lot of things you can't control when you are seeing family, going out, spending time together. We came home later than expected on Friday night, and as I said, sleep is a non-negotiable for me, at least 7 hours. So the next day, instead of my planned hour and 15 minutes of cycling training with Trainer Road, I adjusted the plan for that day. Trainer Road gave me a shorter 45-minute ride, but much more intense, and that gave me exactly what I needed for that day. Another thing that really helped me stay consistent with training while traveling was actually giving my body a lot of grace. And that's because traveling can be incredibly stressful on the body, whether it is a 2-hour flight or a 15-hour flight like the one I'm going on now. Despite the fact that I really wanted to keep to my training schedule, I was intent and committed to training for that entire week while traveling, but I also knew that my body had its limits, and that's why on specific days I decided not to train. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. I did not feel like I was failing my training plan, but what it actually allowed me to do was train at a level and intensity that I needed outside of the space that I knew very well and outside of my comfort zone. And lastly, but also incredibly important, I ate very well while I was traveling. But I did not go overboard and for the most part stuck to eating mostly whole foods. I know eating and traveling can get really challenging, especially if you're either trying to lose weight or have a fitness or sports goal like me. So I will be making a separate video on how I managed nutrition while I was on these 2 weeks of training while traveling. Next stop, Manila. If New York City and Omaha were a challenge, let's see what heat, humidity, and jet lag will do to my training. It's time for me to get on my flight to Incheon and then Manila. Like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss episode 2 of Training Everywhere. I'll see you all in Manila.